Welcome, everyone. Good Tuesday, late morning. Although I must admit, it feels kind of like a Monday because long weekends, it always feels that way, right, Stewart?
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
So for all of you who are watching us, perhaps for the first time, my name is Bill. My co-host today is Stewart. Stewart, how you been doing?
Good. I'm doing great. The real estate market is still booming and everything's going along wonderful.
Yes, sir, it is. And so, as we talk about things real estate, we're certainly going to spend enough time talking about that today. But we also, for today's episode, we have a special guest that we're going to bring into the conversation in a few minutes. And it's a guest that, how do I say this? It's a guest where she runs a business that helps people like Stewart and myself. So more on that as the conversation unfolds. So Stewart, let's jump right into today's episode of Real Living in Chicagoland. Let's start off with the obvious stuff, and that is you're sharing a current trends and a market update as to what's happening with selling and buying real estate.
All right. Well, just to keep it light and easy, more houses are coming on the market, and there is the opportunity to negotiate. I know a lot of people were looking at houses and thinking that they were going to have to fight and they were going to have to pay full price or above full price and have, 6, 7 offers on a property and 90% of the time lose it. That's not necessarily happening as much. It is still happening, but not as much.
Okay.
I myself in the last, 30 days have written 2 contracts that I didn't have to overbid on.
Nice.
So, and that's aside from my other contracts, but 2 of them were not necessarily overbid and we didn't have any competition. So it is definitely transitioning a little bit. And part of that might be because of the interest rates. As you know, Bill, interest rates went up a little bit.
Yes.
And then also the fall, right? School's back in session. Those people who moved because of school are no longer moving because of school. So it's that combination of items that makes it, actually, in my opinion, this is the best time to buy. This is when you're going to get a good deal or a better deal than during the spring.
Right on, right on. And so to add to that, to add to what Stewart just shared with all of you who are watching us today in this live stream or as a recording, if you have already sold the property and maybe you've been sitting on the sidelines to buy the right home, just like Stewart said, maybe things are changing to a point where it's becoming more of a normal market. You don't have to compete as much, but at the end of the day, let's bring this home back to Stewart and myself. It is so important, right, Stewart, to make sure that you are armed with the right team of real estate professionals. Why? Because real estate is a team sport.
Absolutely, it is. You definitely have to have a very good lender like yourself, Bill, and you have to have a real estate agent that's willing to do the job, hustle, know the ins and outs, and more importantly, know how to negotiate that contract depending on the situation. And I'll give you an example. And this is God honest truth. I had an agent negotiate a contract with me, and we had 6 offers on the property. And at first, it was in the city, which the city's a little bit slower than the suburbs. And the contract didn't necessarily get us the money that we wanted because we separated out pricing on the condo, right? In some places in the city, you can separate out parking from the condo.
Right.
In doing that, we received the 6 offers. Everyone was bidding with the parking, and the person that won, they kind of lost focus. And this is where the agents really need to be sharp, and you need to be savvy.
Yeah.
After they won the bid, they came back afterwards and said, "Oh, now we want to buy the parking spot."
Oh.
So they actually lost their clients, and I hate to say, a boatload of money.
Yeah.
Because naturally, I'm savvy enough that I immediately said, okay, how much do you want to pay for it?
Right.
When it was already a part of the deal with the multiple offers.
Right.
But the agent lost focus. And so it's real important that you're working with someone who is savvy, who is on top of things, and who can watch for those things and not make those mistakes, because those mistakes will cost you thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So to that point, I know another attribute that you certainly embody, Stewart, is, your focus, but more importantly, your attention to detail, right?
Right.
So spot on, right on with that advice. Now, to those situations where you're representing a seller, and many of your sellers, are you still seeing the most obvious thing that a seller must do working with a right real estate broker, and that is pricing the property correctly, right?
Yeah.
And is that when you see the potential or the reality of multiple offers?
Absolutely. The better you price the property, you can speculate. And I do that. I speculate. I try to get my sellers more money than normal. But speculation isn't necessarily wishing, for lack of a better term. I wanted to look for a word that rhymed with speculation, but I couldn't come up with it. That being said, you can't wish for an astronomical number. That doesn't make sense. And that's when you're going to hurt yourself. But if you speculate what you might be able to get and just go, at that, pushing that envelope, you're still going to get the traffic. And naturally, if you don't, then you immediately lower the price. But the most important part is keep it reasonable. Keep it within the realm of logic.
Right. Spot on. When you are representing sellers who clearly have trusted you, they're following your advice, they're pricing it correctly, which is, hey, Stewart, whatever that number is that you recommend, we're going to do it that way. When that happens, and let's say a week goes by or a few days go by, and there's no immediate offers that hit your inbox, Stewart, and you have to now plan for that open house. Here is my question to you, and let's get very personal here. For those of you that don't know Stewart as well, and or myself, the one thing that we both share in common is this, right, Stewart? We're both dog parents of dogs that live in the homes that we occupy as well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you prepare your seller who may be just like us, who's the dog parent of maybe just one dog or several pets? How do you prepare them for that open house?
So the number one thing that I do when I do my homework list, right? I give them a homework list, and which a lot of agents don't do. A lot of agents will just come in and they'll just mention, this or that or do this. But I literally make a homework list, a massive one. Okay. And not that I, expect everyone to do every single bit of it, but do as much as you can. That being said, when I do my homework list, I make sure to mention, hey, pay attention to your pet damage, right. Pay attention to your pet odors,
right,
and pay attention to pet accessories, right? Yes. Because pet accessories, whether it's bowls, toys, bones, beds, that all takes up room. And when it takes up room, it looks like clutter, right? And so that's part of when you're staging a home, you need to remove clutter. You need to make it look clear, expansive, beautiful, clean. It needs to smell clean. And so I always advise my clients, really work on these items and have everything in a basket, have it in a room, nearby. You let the dogs play, blah, blah, blah. You get a showing, you pack it all up, and you take the dog for a walk.
That's right.
Take the dog with open house. The same thing with open house. You gotta take your pet, have everything packed away, and take your pet, to the dog park for the 2 hours or whatever.
True. Very true. So with that great advice that you shared with me and everyone who is watching us today, let's now bring in our special guest. Our special guest, ladies and gentlemen, let me bring her into the broadcast studio, is 𝙍𝙚𝙖𝙡. So Sarah, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing well. So putting you on the spot immediately with what you heard as the advice from Stewart, real estate broker, professional, dog parent of several dogs just like me, probably just like you. Is he spot on with his advice? Anything more you want to add to it?
Yeah, finding a good place for your dog to be is ideal. And obviously, for every showing, you can't necessarily do a deep cleaning for every single showing. But before starting the process, that would be something I recommend to my owners, just to remove the dog smell and things like that. But the big thing I would also recommend is, even limiting your dog's space a little bit before you leave, and prepping them in that way as well. So the thing about the moving is you also have to keep in mind if your dog has reactivity issues and things of that nature. It's really important to plan ahead in that point. Depending on the time of the showings and things like that, you might need to make options available, like finding a pet sitter who can take them for the times of the showing, or something along those lines.
Idea.
Right.
For some dogs, a walk around the block isn't necessarily feasible.
Right.
In those regards, and even before prepping for a showing, obviously you might not always find where your dog has hid their toys or has made their mess or things along that nature. I know, as I also have cats, so for me, I'm constantly greeted by surprises all over. So I highly recommend, if you are able to, limit the spaces that your dog occupies on the days of the showing, so that you can maintain a cleaner space in certain areas, so it's less of a cleanup.
Yeah. And because we all love dogs, right? We're dog parents, pet parents. They have their own personalities as well. And so, Sarah, you're spot on. When a household with furry ones are making that move to the next chapter, whether it be a short local move or a big move from city to suburbs, that could be a big move. We have to be mindful of how they may react. So I fully agree with you there. And by the way, let's not keep you a secret, Sarah. Talk about what you do, the business that you run, if you will.
Yeah, so I'm actually a professional dog trainer. I've been training dogs for 12 years. And I work with all sorts of dogs, from, puppyhood to stranger danger and reactivity issues. So I see the gamut. And I have seen a lot of the moving problems that many people would experience without doing the right precautions.
Got it. And I love your tagline of your business. It's something along the line of training at both ends of the leash, right?
Right. Training for both ends of the leash. I can teach your...
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So, I can teach your dog to listen to me easily. To get your dog to generalize, it takes a lot of work on each owner's part. I am not the trainer for your dog. I am the trainer for you, and I am there to get you started and give you an understanding. But technically, you are the one who has to be working with your dog on a daily basis.
Right.
Also, there are no quick fixes. Really, it's about changing human behavior before we can change the dog.
Yeah. You agree with that, Stewart? Your pups are well trained, I know, but you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And they're only well trained because I've taken them to people like Sarah. I will be the first to admit I just don't know enough. In past years, I tried for lack of a better term, the disciplinarian, right? Like, I tried to be the pack leader, and you're going to listen to me. And over the last probably maybe two decades, I'm 57. So over the last 2 decades, I quickly learned that doesn't work. you really got to be the leader, but they've got to almost like love you and admire you and want to follow you more than you making them follow you. So
exactly, trust is key.
It's like Sarah said, we got to train ourselves, or we've got to be trained to know it.
Yeah, I remember Stewart and Sarah when we brought home our first dog, and of course, excitement with the first, the first date, first boyfriend, girlfriend, first dog, all of the excitement that creeps into your life. So we enrolled our first dog and ourselves in training. And the reason why, Sarah, I so resonate with your business tagline is when we showed up for the first training session with I think there were about 8 other dogs and, dog parents as well. The first thing that the trainer said is, okay, I'm here to train each of you. And then she said, by the way, train each of you humans, not the dog. So I really embrace that.
Exactly. And there's a lot that we have to change for our dogs.
Right.
But it works. That whole, it's an ever evolving field, which is wonderful. And some trainers, hopefully most, try to keep up with all the new research and studies that we have now access to.
Right. Exactly. So, Sarah, do you provide your service at a facility of your own, or do you go mobile? What do you do? Can you elaborate?
So I do private dog training where I go to people's homes within 10 miles of uptown.
Okay.
I also do, I do have a location that I will rent for certain, that will be rented for different training sessions. So for example, if I'm working a dog with stranger danger, somebody who if somebody comes over your house, you have a lot of rules for your visitors. Right. Don't look at them, don't talk to them, don't move suddenly, things like that. Don't pet them. These things are the dogs where I try to meet them on neutral ground when able. So sometimes I need a space, whether it's because, the actual environment the dog is in is too small to work on things that need to be worked on indoors. Right. Or the world is just too overstimulating. We need to find a lesser way of working it.
Right. Yeah, that's wonderful. So for all of you who are watching, listening to what we're sharing with you today, yes, Stewart and I, as co-host of this video podcast series, Real Living in Chicagoland, Real Living is not just about real estate. Why? Because real estate is where you call home, and home is for the two of us or all of us as humans and our furry ones as well, right? So with that, just like the business of real estate, and just like Sarah has mentioned, and Stewart hinted at this, sometimes you got to let the professionals help you. So in the business of real estate, right, Stewart, you cannot always DIY trying to sell your home. FSBO, thumbs down, correct?
Yeah, the one thing about FSBO is, could you do it? Yes, you could do it. But the reality is you're not going to do it as well as someone who does it every day. It's no different than me saying, I can train my dog.
Right.
No, I can't. I don't do it every day. I don't know the nuances. A new dog has a new mindset. People think that, just because you've owned a dog before, you can train the next dog. Not necessarily true. And the same with a house. Just because you bought a house before doesn't necessarily mean you could sell your other house. It's not the same thing.
Yeah. Every house is different. Every dog is different. And just like people, we all have our personalities, right?
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Spot on. So, Sarah, as we wrap up, let me share with everyone some of the things that you do. This is a collage of Sarah Koppel's business, Koppel's Canines, as you see here, and all of the furry friends, family members that enjoy her expertise. So again, don't DIY, not always. trying to train your dog, sometimes it makes sense to bring in a professional. So Sarah and Stewart, as we wrap up today's episode of Real Living in Chicagoland, thank you so much, Sarah, first, for sharing your time with us and adding to our conversation where Stewart, myself, and you are dog parents, and we enjoy having you in our presence today.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So for all of you watching, if you may be making your next move, not just with your humans, but with your furry friends as well, how can we help you? All three of us. Well, with Sarah, you clearly can find her through a Google search as well as the website that I showed you earlier. For Stewart and myself, we're ready, willing, and able to help you in your journey from start to finish, getting from point A to point B. All you have to do is simply scan the QR codes that you see here. So until we see each other in the next episode, Sarah, Stewart, enjoy your day today. Keep cool along with your furry ones, as I'm going to try to do the same as well.
Thank
Sure,
you.
you too, Bill.
Have a
Thanks,
great
Sarah.
day.
You're awesome.
Bye for now.
You're awesome too. Thanks. Bye, guys.